Parkway School Board meeting tonight. Would you please stand with us and join us in saying the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We begin our meeting tonight with some special recognitions. And this evening, the Board of Education is recognizing the 8th grade career fair team, a winner in the Midwest Bus Sales Photo Contest. In addition, we'll hear from our superintendent, Dr. Keith Marty, about the School Board Recognition Week. First, I'd like to invite Dr. Chelsea Watson, Assistant Superintendent for Student Services, to the podium.
President Jacob, Vice President Mogerman, members of the board, Dr. Marty, Mrs. Stover. This evening, it gives me great pleasure to recognize the 8th grade career conference as For All, By All, a For All, By All initiative of the Parkway School District. Goal 3 of our strategic plan states that all students are confident learners who are increasingly self-directed, skilled, and persistent as learners. Measurable Objective 3 addresses monitoring and making adjustments to achieve goals, including academic, career, health, social, and civic. The 8th grade career conference concept was born during the 2012-2013 school year. This was a recommendation from the Character Education Action Team. Previously, the Parkway Career Fair was an evening event for students and parents, with high school students being the targeted audience. With this format, we could not ensure all of our students received such an experience. Also, the reason for the grade level change is to 8th grade is to keep our students thinking about their 5-year plan and provide some context to students as they are making course selections. The planning for this event began in 2013 with members of the Character Education Action Team. Specifically, Jennifer Stanfill, in collaboration with Aaron Schulte, led the charge and set 2015 as the date of execution. During the 2014-15 school year, planning continued and a partnership with the St. Louis Community College Merrimack campus ensued. During the summer of 2015 and this past fall, planning was in high gear with Amy Belding and Aaron Schulte pulling all stakeholders together for the benefit of all of our 8th grade students. The Parkway Career Conference for all 8th graders was held on December 3rd and 4th at St. Louis Community College Merrimack campus. Now, we will take a short visit into the conference. So tonight, there are a number of people who are here to celebrate this for all, by all accomplishment. We certainly could not have accomplished providing this opportunity for all eighth graders without all stakeholders, students, staff, and our community. First, I would like to recognize two of our community partners, Erica Malone and Meredith Rosher from St. Louis Community College. Will you all come down, come forward, and we'll just gather over here unless you want to. The board will shake you all, everybody's hand. Next, I want to recognize Parkway employees who are in attendance tonight who had a significant connection to the conference, allowing this to be a for all, by all initiative. When I call your name, please come forward. Will Rosa, Patty Bedborough, Amy Gherkin-Coates, Bill Bass, Nancy Ernest, Mike Bogus, Jason Rooks, Jennifer Holtman, Jenny Reed, Eric Luters, Juliet Travis, Lisa Burks, Jennifer Stanfill, Amy Belding, and Aaron Schulte. Did I miss anyone after I checked my list? Yeah, but I don't want to give the wrong number. Amy and Aaron, how many eighth graders did pass through the doors?
About 1,400.
1,400 students. So, Parkway Board of Education, please know that the eighth grade career conference is now noted on our for all, by all plaque. Thank you.
You guys are so close. Wow. Thank you. So good evening, President Jacob, Vice President Mogerman, board members, Dr. Marty, Ms. Stover. First, I'd like to introduce our bus driver, Kim Weissman, bus driver and photographer extraordinaire, Kim Weissman. Please come down. She participated by taking our photograph for the contest on a field trip at the St. Louis Arch. Thank you, Kim. I'd also like to introduce Kevin Cheek now from Midwest Bus Sales, who was the representative, and he's going to come down and say a few words. Kevin?
Thank you, Will. I'd like to thank Will and Parkway School District for participating in this contest. We had we have 5 states, and we had $5,000, a $1,000 winner for each state. And my territory, which is Eastern Missouri, half of Missouri, won 2 of the awards, which was Parkway and Hannibal. Thank you very much. Here is the winning picture. Didn't it turn out great? She did a great job. She was on a field trip and happened to see that. Thank God. Oh, I'm sorry.
On my new bus.
So I'd like to present that to you all for the Transportation Department, so you can hang it in the transportation. And a thank you letter from Midwest Bus Sales, from Scott Kincaid, and a check for $1,000.
We're going to Las Vegas.
And thank you, Will and Parkway, for being a key CNG client of ours, and we really appreciate that business. And thank you for
Proud to drive
that.
it.
It's a wonderful, wonderful picture.
Proud to drive it.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move forward here with our last recognition. Is that okay? So, President Jacob, board members, and Mrs. Stover, and the audience here tonight, we, the last couple of years, have taken an opportunity to recognize our board. While it's a couple weeks away, the Board Recognition Week is January 25th to the 29th. And we think in Parkway that we have an exceptional board. We know that because our board does great work. They do it with great service, they do it with great spirit, and with kids in mind, and everything that they do is really in the name of making sure that our district and our staff are really taking account of what's needed for students in our future. So the Superintendent's Action Team is going to take a little moment here, so it's going to take a little time to recognize each one of our board members tonight. Mrs. Feldman is out of town, but she too will be recognized briefly. And I'm going to start, and I have the pleasure to start with President Jacob. And boy, what a challenge it is to honor President Jacob. But I came up, with, it's a roast, But I would like to just talk about a couple of, I chose the letter G to talk about Chris. First of all, this is a good man. This is really a good man who really, as I've got to know Chris over the last several years and on the board, and just as a citizen and as a family man and a husband, business person, is just a decent human being who cares deeply about the society as a whole, our community, and really takes great pride in his work and is really just a wonderful person, a wonderful man who is really just a great individual to be on the board, but also to be representative of our community. He's also good-natured, a person who really takes time for everybody, is always really taking care of others, and really always, as you can see right now, a smile on his face, which brings me to good humor. Hey, we had to have humor in there. I don't know if I've met a person who has a quick story or joke as quick as Chris does for situations. And there's something to be said for that, because we live in stressful times, we're oftentimes busy, but boy, it's so refreshing to have a story, a little humor in our world, and Chris provides that. And finally, Chris is grounded. This is a man who's, when he speaks with great conviction and principle. He's grounded in the right kind of work, the right kind of things for children and for our community as a whole. And I'm very, very proud to serve with the whole board, and I'm very, very proud that our president is Chris Jacob this term. And Chris, thank you very much for your service. And so each of us are going to present you with a gift, which we hope you'll use. It's really an opportunity to do a lot of writing. So Nikki, and there's a certificate here, but you can open this, but you're going to find that each one of you have a little gift from us for your service, and hopefully from the community to really recognize the wonderful work you do. So Chris, I'll present this to you. Now it's Patty's turn. Patty.
Good evening. I have the wonderful opportunity to present our gift to Dee Mogerman, our Vice President of the Board. Dee has served on the board for over a decade. She is very committed to the community and to the students of Parkway, ensuring the success of all students, providing prudent financial stewardship, ensuring the opportunities are available for all Parkway students, and provide students with the tools so that they can compete in our global economy. Dee is a true believer in service to the community. Whether it's from her commitment to our district to serve for our district, she provides also service as president, of the Congressional Temple of Israel. She has instilled this belief into her sons too. I have the wonderful opportunity to work with Dee on our Finance and Human Resources Subcommittee. I've gotten to know her personally and professionally. Along with this work, along with all the other work that we work with in the entire board. I enjoy Dee's insight and support of the district initiatives. Dee is very committed to the district's vision and mission. Thank you, Dee.
Hello. So I have Dr. Sam Sortino. So Sam, I first really got to know Sam as he joined Project Parkway, the original steering committee, and now continues to serve in that role. But Sam's had an outstanding and distinguished career as a teacher, assistant principal, assistant superintendent, headmaster, you name it in schools, he's pretty much done it. And he couldn't get enough, obviously, and became well-respected board member here. He has an incredible reputation and is so well-respected by all of us in the education field. He's a people person, a relator. He really gets that this work is about people and building relationships. Others describe Sam as kind, caring, dedicated, loyal, compassionate, selflessly serving, humble, and a leader with an incredible smile. That's the theme tonight. So much so that my assistant, Linda Lococo, do you remember the Lococo boys? Sam, they were. Did you get that on video, Derek? I'll show that to Linda tomorrow. My assistant, Linda Lococo, recalled that she was at a principal coffee at West Middle when her boys were there, and you were the principal. And she said the whole time Sam talked about the school and the kids and the teachers and had a smile on his face the whole time. And she said afterwards, one thing that she really remembered was she was walking away and she said, I don't know how you do it, how you work. I've got 2 of these boys and you work with all these kids. And he said back with a smile, I love those middle school kids. So Sam, thank you for your service and all that you've taught us and others. So thank you.
Good evening. I have Mr. Tom Applebaum. So Tom, as an attorney, you will be happy to hear that I did my research on the law, and I found out the legal definition of a board member. So according to a law dictionary, the school board is defined as an elected body which manages delegated powers in regards to the delivery of education services within a defined territory, okay? I also found out that there are a lot of Missouri revised statutes that you have to adhere to. So 6 years ago, when you considered running for the board, you had to meet a lot of legal requirements, like Missouri Revised Statute 162.291, residency. Missouri Revised Statute 160.011, a taxpayer. 162.391, you cannot be an employee of the district, and we go on. Then when you applied to be a board candidate, you had to adhere to the following statute. 115.124, filing procedures. Missouri Revised Statute 115.124, the ballot order in which your name would appear, and so forth and so on. During your campaign, there were all of these other statutes that you had to adhere to. But in my research, I did not find the definition of what it really takes to be a board member. So there is no definition for that. There is no legal dictionary that talks about the time, and there is no statute that talks about the commitment. There is no law that governs what you should and what you should not support. There is no statute that tells you how much time and compassion you should have or share with us. No one can define any of these things but you. You are a quiet leader, one that reflects and thinks about the information presented and asks key questions for clarification and understanding. You wear your legal hat when presented with complicated matters. You dedicate your personal time to involve yourself in district initiatives like sustainability and green initiatives. Most of all, you support Parkway. Your personal dedication to Parkway is truly appreciated, and for this, we say thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your definition of what it means to be a board member. And I know that if there was a bar exam to be a board member, you would pass with flying colors. Thank you. There was a whole bunch of other material
Good evening. Beth Feldman was not able to be with us this evening, but yet it is my honor to recognize and thank Beth for her service on the Board of Education. Beth has served the Parkway School District as a board member since 2008. Beth and her husband are proud parents of 2 Parkway graduates. Through the years, Beth has given in many capacities. She has served as president, vice president, and on multiple subcommittees. I have especially appreciated her lens and perspective in our curriculum subcommittee work. She asks thoughtful questions and certainly helps provide various perspectives that she learns about out in the community when chatting with our stakeholders. This insight certainly helps us as we plan and implement curriculum initiatives. Beth's contributions run deep. However, I would especially like to recognize her commitment and leadership to Project Parkway. Beth has helped our organization to continue to be focused on ensuring a high-quality education for all students. She challenges us to continually think about the ever-changing world and to focus on what we need to do to ensure all Parkway graduates are ready for their next endeavor. Her thoughtful questions are guiding. As you can tell, Beth is very dedicated to her service to our Parkway community. I'm amazed at how many district events I get to see her at, and somehow she makes time for this while balancing time with her family and her service as the program manager at the National Council of Jewish Women. We greatly appreciate Beth's dedication, and we will make sure that she gets her certificate and gift.
Well, last but not least, I get to recognize Kim Applebaum for her service to the Parkway Board. Those of you who know Kim know that she joined the board in 2012, and then she was brave enough to run again last year. And through her leadership, she was reelected, and we want to thank you for that, not only for running and serving, but then agreeing to stick around and do it another term. So it means a lot to us. Kim not only serves on our board, but also serves as a member of the Special School District Governing Board. So in effect, she's actually serving our schools on 2 volunteer boards alone, not to mention all of her other activities. And she's a West Area parent, 2 boys. A lot of people work hard to develop their resume over their careers, and I know Kim's is very impressive, but the part of her resume that probably I know she's very proud of, and a lot of you maybe not know of, is all of her volunteer activities that she has done over the years, in addition to serving on our board and the SSD board. And I'll just mention a few of them here. PTO secretary, party room, a room party planner, not party room. Spirit Wear chairperson. That alone makes me want to pull my hair out. Cub Scout den leader. Now, I've done that one, and that's an amazing amount of work. And, a lot of people, including myself, when I did that, when I checked it off, I said, okay, I'm done now. I did my volunteer thing, but that's just one activity that Kim has done. In addition to that, she's been the treasurer of the Boy Scout, I guess that's the troop, treasurer of the troop, and also with the band booster group, which has so many activities and events going on. It's a big, big job, a lot of responsibility, and also volunteers many, many hours, as many of you know, with Junior Achievement. Those are only the ones that I'm aware of. I'm sure there are others, but we just appreciate your service to our kids, to our teachers, to our community. You're what makes the kind of volunteer that makes Parkway strong, and we appreciate your service. Thank you, Kim.
Paul thought he was recognizing the last board member.
I'm so sorry.
It's the new math. That's right. So through the process of elimination, I have the pleasure of recognizing Debbie Hopper. Debbie is our newest board member. She joined the Board of Education in April of 2014. She has served in various capacities during her time in Parkway. To name a few, the Government Relations Committee, Project Parkway, and I don't know if you all know, but before Debbie was a board member, she attended the Character Education Advisory. Debbie currently serves on the Student Services Subcommittee and is deeply involved in all aspects of the Parkway School District. Debbie has 2 kids experiencing life with an elementary school student and a middle schooler. Her service certainly has a personal perspective. Debbie always takes time to immerse herself in every aspect of Parkway. As I reflected on Debbie's leadership and contributions to our community, some key words came to mind. Capable, curious, and confident, of course. Caring, inquisitive, detailed, thorough, questioning, well-read, passionate, thoughtful, and a Parkway advocate. Debbie, thanks for your service to the students, parents, staff, and community of Parkway. With the hours that you spend each week helping to accomplish the Parkway mission, I know you're not paid nearly enough. But what I know about you is that the most gratifying pay is knowing that you have a part in the future of the students of the Parkway community. Everyone, please join me in recognizing Debbie Hopper.
Actually, there's one more recognition that I would like to, that the school board and all of you, I'd like you to participate in it. There's a new doctor in the house. You would, congratulations to Dr. Debbie Kershaw. He started out there with the letter G. I thought for a minute, with great trepidation, that he was going to say, "Good heavens, good night, good riddance." We really appreciate the excellence that's in Parkway and some of the recognitions that we were able to recognize tonight really show you what kind of students and teachers, administrators, what kind of school district we have. And we really appreciate that. 6.0, additions, corrections, modifications to the agenda. There are none. Citizen statements. I have 7 people here who have some citizen statements they'd like to make. I'll call your name and ask you to repeat your name and your address because we're going to respond to you with a letter later, so we'd just like to make sure we have everything correct. So we will begin with Amy Rom. Or less.
Okay, good. I only prepared 2, so we're good. My name is Amy Rom, so thank you for hearing me tonight. I came because I'm very concerned about the direction of the school calendar. And looking ahead, I'd like to make the following suggestions. With the calendar keeping us in school through December 23rd this year, I've spoken to many parents, teachers, and faculty members at my elementary school, at the middle school, and got a lot of feedback on it. Everyone I've spoken to has agreed that they would like to be out before the 23rd. A couple of other things, having a later start date in August, having those few days off before Christmas Eve, and needing to end closer to Memorial Day in May. Many parents feel that the holiday season is more enjoyed prior to the holiday than beginning the break at Christmas Eve and having an extended week the 2nd through the 9th, as a lot of parents go back to work during that time as well, as the 16-17 calendar is already scheduled to take us through. Parents with older children feel that it is much more difficult to take their children out of school, with finals being so close to Christmas, which makes holiday travel more difficult. A lot of families already have visitors in town on the 23rd, making it frustrating to still have children in school as well. Many parents I've spoken to mentioned for the overall calendar, considering the climate here in the Midwest, as a great reason to not get out so early in May and to start later in August. Many of the local pools are not open until Memorial Day, and summer school programs don't typically start until after June. On the flip side, the temperatures in August are usually climbing, and local pools are closing earlier each year as the school calendar moves up. Lastly, parents would like our calendar to more closely follow neighboring districts in an effort to help families who work in one district and have children in another, as well as coordinate with friends and family in neighboring districts. Many of the Parkway parents that I have spoken to have expressed interest in including parents on the calendar committee in the future to help with future planning. I would like for you guys to take that into consideration. Thank you. Did you need me to state my name and address?
Yes.
It's Amy Rom. It's 1811 Britannia Court, Chesterfield, Missouri. Thanks.
Next is Robin Hayes, and you don't have to wait till the end. You can say your name and address at the beginning. Thank you.
I'm a little shorter, so I'm going to have to get this down here, sorry. Hi, my name is Robin Hayes. I live at 14741 Westerly Place, Chesterfield, Missouri, 63011. Dr. Sorrentino was my principal in junior high. He was great. I'm a Claymont Parkway West grad and very proud to be a Parkway alumni. My considerations are the calendar, mainly the 23rd, not being off the 23rd, and then going back to school the 5th this year as opposed to the 4th. I would have liked it if we could have just gone back a day early and been off a day earlier. Again, you don't know what you don't know, so I'm sure you guys have reasons why you do what you do, but I can just say what I want. So that's what I would like. I appreciate you listening to that. Also, I expressed to my teachers that I didn't send my kids the 23rd. It was a half day, and we had family in town, so I didn't send them. Sorry, yes, it's an excuse to absence. But I felt bad for the teachers that they had a full day. They didn't even have a half day. So if they were traveling, I don't know if they have a way, like our teachers board, that they talk to you guys about stuff, but I was concerned. I mean, I respect the teachers. I love the teachers. They work hard for us. I feel like it's almost a little disrespectful for them that they can't leave to go out of town too. You know, in a timely manner, they have to go to 4 and then rush if they're going out of town. Okay, the other thing is, and this is a side note, again, I don't know what I don't know. The voting happens in the schools, and I think from what I can understand, that was a little bit why the calendar was switched, because they don't want the kids in the school when people are voting, and back in the days that didn't used to be an issue. I'm still kind of concerned, you know, there's a little people out there, a little cray-cray, that even if they vote in the schools, there's still all these random people in the school, so kind of a safety concern of even just in general, the next day, some of these people are so, chemically imbalanced, perhaps that could be an issue if someone really wanted to do something, they could plant something, that is a little bit of a safety, a little out far-fetched perhaps, but so is a lot of stuff that's happening nowadays. I thank you for your time, and I appreciate you listening to me.
Carrie Brazier.
Hi, I'm Carrie Brazier. I live at 2 Silver Creek Lane, Baldwin, Missouri. I didn't have to add that in, sorry, I'm nervous. My issue is with the calendar as well, and I just wanted to add my voice a little bit with getting off on December 23rd. It makes it a little hard on families, and I know I wanted to keep the emotion out of it, but it's hard to keep the emotion out of the calendar because I have 5 kids. I have 3 kids in Henry Elementary School right now, and a 4-year-old and a 6-month-old. And so my kids and the calendar and school, obviously it's my life right now. So it's important to me that, they get to spend as much time at home as possible. And so the number of days obviously isn't up for debate, but certainly we could group things together a little bit better, make it a little easier on families. I think that's probably really important. And so to add, I agree with everything that the previous 2 people have said. And just add, I know Amy mentioned the pool thing, and I wanted to add that I know that may not seem like a big deal, but when we go back to school in August and our community pools have to close because they don't have kids to work and our kids are all in school, it's hard on our communities and it's hard on those people that run them. And in looking through the list of great cities to live in, as you come across those things on the internet, it's always, Baldwin, Missouri, or Chesterfield, Missouri, and the first things on there are our community recreational centers, Baldwin Point, our pools, that make it a great place to live. And I think that, if we make it hard on those institutions, then they're going to shut down, and it's going to be no good for any of us, right? No good for our property values and things like that, too. So if I just see the calendar scooting back further and further into May and coming back into August, and it makes it hard on us. So I can't think of anything else that I needed to say, so thank you for your consideration, and have a good night.
Thank you very much. Appreciate those comments. Colleen Wilson.
Hi, my name's Colleen Wilson. My address is 538 Kenilworth Lane. Both of my daughters currently attend Parkway schools. My family feels extremely lucky to live within the Parkway District and to attend its wonderful, diverse schools. We've had nothing but a great experience so far. Diversity is one of the main reasons we value public school education for our daughters. They're getting the valuable lessons they will need in their future careers and life paths by being alongside all types of people of different cultures, religions, and genders. As Parkway moves to update the health and sex ed curriculum, please continue to keep in mind that we are a public institution that serves every child. My husband, Tom, and I are shocked that there has been any negative reaction to updating the health and sex ed curriculum further to include our students within the LGBTQ community. We are disappointed that Parkway continues to delay these necessary updates. We are a public school district. We serve all types of students. The kids in the LGBTQ community are being avoided and ignored. It's not right. All of our students deserve fair and equal treatment. All of our students deserve an education that includes explaining simple differences. Religious views should be taken to private schools. I thank the board for your continued support for every child that attends Parkway schools. I also thank you for your time and commitment. Let's continue our reputation as a school district that makes the necessary changes needed in our ever-changing world to provide the best education to our children and not let fear and ignorance keep us behind. Thank you.
Thank you, too. Samantha, I'm not sure I got your name here, but if I don't want to say it wrong, so I know you'll say it right. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Samantha DiMichele, and I go to Parkway Northeast Middle School, and I'm kind of just like a normal, not bystander, but I'm just a normal kind of girl who goes there, but I am transgender, but I don't think that's the most important part of why I should be here right now. I think it's because I like meeting new people. I'm kind of a people person, and like explaining about being like transgender to everyone doesn't really make sense when they can just know that I'm a girl and I'm me. And so I thought that having the health curriculum like updated, I think that would be good, so students of my age and older and younger can learn about like what's like happening in the world right now, because I know there's many things going on about the LGBTQ like community, and I thought it'd be a good idea for everyone to know and not just certain people, and so we can make like the world like a little more closer to what's really happening right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Samantha. We appreciate that. It's hard enough for an adult to get up here and say anything, let alone one of our students, and we really appreciate you having the courage to give us your thoughts. Finally, our last citizen statement tonight is from Mindy Stuckey.
Hello, my name is Mindy Stuckey, and I live at 418 Algonquin Drive. I have 2 children who attend Claymont and 2 who will go there after preschool. I am here tonight to state my support for the new sex ed curriculum. Studies have shown that creating a supportive environment for LGBT students improves educational outcomes for all students, not just those who may identify as LGBT. This is not about politics or religion. This is about each and every student feeling safe, valued, and accepted. When we prevent our teachers from teaching about LGBT, we are treating an entire student population as if it does not exist. This is not okay. It is essential to create an environment where all students, no matter their differences, feel safe, feel support, valued, and included for exactly who they are.
That new math seems to be going around. I'm sorry, Gail, I overlooked your name here, so please.
Good evening. My name is Gail Hintz. My address is 480 Sunstone Drive, Baldwin 63011. I'm here to speak about the sexual health curriculum proposal. I'm the parent of a Parkway West 2015 graduate and a current Parkway West sophomore. Both our boys have had very good experiences in Parkway schools since kindergarten, and I have always felt that the district from the top down does have every child's best interests at heart. Not empty words, but played out in action on every level. It's time for our district to take the lead on being courageous, inclusive, and respectful to our entire community by broadening the health and sex ed curriculum. We need to provide thorough, factual information to all our students, recognizing that our community, just like our entire society, is vastly diverse in matters of gender identity, gender expression, and sexual orientation, as well as in many other ways. Every single student in our care should feel supported in who he or she fundamentally is, as well as in their choices for their own lives. For any child to feel that he or she is obliged to hide who they are is disrespectful and demeaning. Educating all our students with fact-based, non-judgmental, comprehensive sexual health education that respects everyone is essential. At the December 9th Board of Education meeting, I was impressed by how so many of our students support all their peers. I believe that every student wants to feel validated and respected by the huge support system of their school. While the home front is our children's first learning environment, sometimes the home is not a place that teaches inclusion and respect for all. No matter what is taught at home, our teachers, classrooms, administrators, and the entire school district need to be clear, informative, and inclusive. Information is power and is not to be feared. Not only will this help our students who may feel marginalized, or worse yet, bullied, because of their deeply personal areas of gender, sexuality, and identity, but the tone and example we set for all our students will give them the best chance to grow up to be respectful and inclusive human beings in this world. And isn't that what we in Parkway are striving for? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Each of you will receive a reply in writing. We appreciate your comments tonight. I did too want to recognize, it looks to me like there's some college students out here. If you could tell us which institution you represent, we'd like to recognize you being here. No?
Actually, it's Spark. It's some of our Spark students.
Oh, it's Spark students.
Well, that's even better. No, not even that.
Right here, these girls.
Okay.
we get to incorporate our lesson plans and stuff, and it's really awesome. So, yeah. Thank you. And it makes school fun for us because we're doing like things we like every.
Some of you may not be aware we have an experiential learning, several strands from the entrepreneurial type where they try to develop a business idea and make that go to teaching and learning, medical, and we're very happy to be able to have these kinds of experiences for some of our students. And I wanted to mention too, you don't have to feel obligated to stay for the rest of the meeting, although it's gripping, and feel free if you've done what you came here for, you're welcome to stay, but don't feel obligated. In fact, I think we'll take about a 60-second break just so we can give you that opportunity to leave, and then we'll come right back and get started with the rest of the meeting.
Mrs. Marcia Barish's classroom. And what's the name of her class, Dr. Marty? It's about
It's a pre-professional teaching experience. Not the Spark program, but.
right. And she's invited us the last 3 or 4 years to come, and we come and each talk about our respective roles within the district and what bright students she has. It was great to talk to them, and they had great questions, and we were just really happy to be there and to do it again. So hopefully she'll invite us again next year.
Wonderful. Any other board reports, liaison reports?
Well, I did have, went to an event last night that was the U.S. Green Building Council, and the outgoing chair of their local chapter spoke, which happens to be our own Eric Leaders. So it's really great to see him out in the community in such a respected position.
Thank you.
I also had the opportunity, not as a board member, but I'll just bring it up as a parent, to attend the West High Curriculum Night. And it was just so wonderful to see that many students and parents out there becoming educated about the high school transition process and for the other students who are coming in. And I thought West High did a very nice job on presenting the activities and the curriculum that they have and making things available for everyone to be able to go through that process of transitioning into high school.
Big step forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any others? This last Saturday, I had the opportunity to come to our recruitment fair here at, well, it was over at, no, it was here. No, Central High, had the cafeteria there. Just wonderful to see. That was the morning it snowed, and I was afraid I was going to freeze my head on the way in. The snow, as it fell on you, immediately turned to water, but it was just wonderful to see how many people were there, people that want to be part of Parkway, and we're looking forward to that opportunity to interview with other teachers, administrators, even Dr. Marty was interviewing. Just a lot of excited people had been invited to come in, so it's everything from early childhood to high school. It was just a great experience, and I was glad I was able to stop by and see that.
We almost interviewed you.
But nobody signed up for the course in joke telling, so. Thank you. 10.04, there were some board subcommittee meetings in December. If anybody wants to report on the Student Services Subcommittee meeting that was held on December 15th, or the HR Finance Subcommittee meeting, which was held December 21st.
Can't remember that for a bit.
That's what I was just saying then. Oh my gosh, I don't
I know,
remember.
I remember meeting.
I know.
Where's Chelsea?
Let's see.
I'm so sorry, Chelsea.
Mrs. Applebaum and I and Mr. Jacob and Dr. Ciartino attended Student Services. And I do recall, we talked about the 8th grade career conference and some of the activities that had taken place of that and feedback on that. My son had attended, and so we were talking about that as well, and what a remarkable event it was. It was the first year, so looking forward to future years and some improvements that might be able to be made, and looking forward to the students. And the idea that it was now in 8th grade as opposed to later was really, I think everybody was on board with that because it was so appropriate, especially as they're planning their high school education. Now they can think about what they talked about during this conference and then can move that into their high school education. And I also recall, we were talking about the restorative justice program, I believe, that social justice?
Restorative.
It was restorative. Restorative discipline program that we were also talking about as well.
We're getting coached by Chelsea. What did we talk about, Chelsea?
It was social justice, yeah.
Did a wonderful job of presenting.
That was a great meeting. Thank you for your time and the effort and the other individuals who prepared their topics for us. Thank you.
And we do pay attention. We're just brain dead after the holidays.
I had at the HR Finance Subcommittee meeting, we talked about the ACA, and Brian was there, and Patty was there, and I don't remember what we talked about. Do you they're talking.
Well, we appreciate those members of the board who've taken those assignments, and also the administrators that help us understand better. That's what the whole purpose is, to help us be able to ask some pointed questions and at the same time learn more about what's happening specifically in those areas. There are some upcoming meetings that I'm sure we're going to take really copious notes. January 21st is the TLA subcommittee meeting. And then there's the Project Parkway Steering Committee meeting on February 10th at ISC. Action items. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented here in the January 13th, 2016 board materials?
So moved.
Second.
Is there anything that needs to be pulled to action or closed? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Are there any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. I might indicate here too, I just wanted to let you know that there is a correction that's being made on the calendar. There were some comments made tonight about December 23rd. That had been shown as a school day when in effect it is not. So I think those parents will be happy at least with that little tidbit. 12.0, the approval of the adoption of Envision 2.0 K-5 math classroom materials for the 2016-17 school year. Is Jennifer, there she is, Jennifer Abdelazim. She's our elementary interdisciplinary curriculum coordinator. And she'll be helped out by Lisa if need be.
Leave me up here alone. Good evening, Board, President Jacob. Before I start this presentation as to why Envision was chosen, I was thinking about something as I was driving here tonight. My daughter, Lena, is in pre-K right now. She's registering for kindergarten next year, and I said to myself, this decision will impact her for every year that she is in elementary school. And as I was thinking about that, it made me just, with complete amazement, how proud I was of the resource team that provided the feedback to help us make the decision, and Susan Hawkinson and Liz Morrison, who helped, bring the decision to Dr. Meredith. I know that choosing Envisions is the right decision for our district and for all of the elementary kids, and I'm happy that it will impact every student, but especially my own children. So, why did we choose Envisions? So the process started before I was even a part of Parkway. As you know, in the 2014-2015 school year, 2 programs were piloted. It was My Math and Envisions. I guess it would be Envisions 1.0. And the results came back, and it was unclear what decision should be made. And then I joined Parkway, and I was handed the responsibility of continuing to find the right program for Parkway. So we decided to pilot on a smaller scale rather than go with, I think there were 100 teachers that piloted last year. So we kept it smaller, which made it more manageable, and it made me be able to have interactions with the teachers that were piloting the resources easier, and it made meeting with them much more easier to facilitate. So 34 teachers through the district piloted 4 programs. While the pilot was going on, the math facilitators and I visited neighboring districts that were using the 4 programs that were being piloted. They were Everyday Math, Math Expressions, Envisions 2.0, and My Math. At the same time that the teachers were piloting the resource, we also, the math facilitators and I, did an intense alignment of the 4 resources to the Parkway curriculum, because our main goal was to make sure that we were picking a resource that supported our amazing curriculum, not a program that would become our curriculum. We already have an amazing curriculum, so we needed to make sure that the resource we found supported our outstanding curriculum. At the beginning of December, the resource teachers came together, and they, where's the clicker? They provided feedback. The math facilitators, well then, I took all of the feedback that the math facilitators provided, and, yeah, thanks, and took out the names of the programs and enabled the math facilitators to read through the feedback blindly, to remove any bias towards any programs that they had. So I presented them with the data so that they could see the way the statistics felt, naming the programs A, B, C, and D. And then they agreed overall with the decision, with the feedback that the teachers gave. And the results are, so the blue bar represents Envisions. That's an average score of the questions that the teachers asked. The teachers asked several questions under the 4 categories that came from the program evaluation. They were based around assessment, differentiation, instructional tools, and parent support. In every category, that's the average of all of the questions. Envisions 2.0 was the winner based on feedback. Then, can you scroll down to the next? You could even look at through each of the categories separated. So the blue bars represent assessment, orange differentiation, green the instructional tools, and red parent support. Envisions is the first in every category there. It is neck and neck with in 2 of the categories with I think it's Everyday that came in second. And so presented with the feedback, and I have to say the teachers on the resource adoption committee, I have to give them a lot of credit because they presented me with, I printed out all of the feedback that they gave us, not really sustainability smart, but on 11 by 17 paper, it was 107 pages. That's how much feedback I was given from these teachers. So they were very thoughtful in the feedback. You're getting a snapshot, the statistical analysis, but the actual feedback that they gave was very thoughtful and very meaningful. So based on this feedback, I can't click next, and the analysis of the materials, the math facilitators, Liz, Susan, and I made a recommendation to Dr. Meredith for Envisions 2.0. And I would like to summarize, it won't scroll through to the next. Can we? Where do you want to go? I want to go to the next slide. So why did we choose Envisions? I've already hinted to the fact that we found it to be the most flexible program, meaning that we can take Envisions and align it to the already existing Parkway curriculum without any major changes. We have excellent instructional practices in place in Parkway, and I feel like Envisions would just be a support to the already amazing teachers and to the already amazing curriculum that we have. I also like the idea that Envisions is broken up, each lesson is broken up into 3 main steps. It really allows students to problem solve. So it gives teachers resources that enable the students to struggle with math a little bit before being given the explicit lesson, which is really important. And I think that that's something that had been missing. What I was hearing from teachers along the way was we need to find a balance between struggle and investigation time and, okay, here's a really efficient way to do it, and Envisions does that. It enables the students to investigate and struggle with math just enough, and it provides the teachers with the supports to question and probe students to bring their thinking to the surface, and then respond to that thinking, teach a mini lesson, and then develop those ideas. It also has time to assess in every lesson, not a formal assessment, but a formative assessment, and it gives teachers ways to be responsive to those assessments. So how are we grouping our children? What do our struggling learners need? What do our students who need enrichment need? You know, no program is going to have every corner covered, but I feel like Envisions does give a great basis for that. It also has a lot of online support, which for Homeschool Connection is really important. Teachers and students can access all of the materials online all the time, student books. There's also games, the assessments are online. They also have center activities. I'm not crazy about the word center being part of our math block, but they have activities there. Teachers can assign the students individual work online. There's also a place for students to just explore digitally math tools. And it has, which I think is really important, something that they call Another Look, which is a video that parents can use to support their children with homework, which I think is something that I feel like is missing now, that parent piece. Where can I go to help my child at home? So that would be online. What's included in what's included in the price that we were given? It's a 6-year subscription for every teacher, every elementary student, and every teacher. Automatic delivery of the student practice books, the teacher's guides. Every classroom will get a basic classroom manipulative kit. Every student will get a student manipulative kit. It includes digital access. There's also an English language learners toolkit. It's included math diagnosis and intervention. It's not extensive by any means. I don't think it's perfect, but at least it's a step towards the tier 2, tier 3 instruction. There's also something called Today's Challenge, and that's included with it. So there could be something like a problem of the day, and the teacher will have that resource and the teacher's guide for that as well. And something that I think is actually unique for Parkway, I think, this is a major change in the district for these 420 elementary teachers who have been teaching math using a specific resource for a very long time. So when I spoke with our rep from Pearson, her name is Tammy, and I said, we need to do something big for Parkway as a district kickoff. The author of Envisions happens to be Randall Charles, who is a well-known math guru. He's a problem-solving, if you're not a math person, you probably don't know the name, so I'll stop making myself a nerd. Anyway, he's a really great problem-solving math person, and he's the author of Envision, so I said, can we get him to come? And Pearson agreed. So we're going to have a district kickoff for 150 stakeholders through the district. You all will get an invitation soon. Where we will get to hear him speak personally about the program, and just to build excitement through the district to embrace the change that's coming. I also asked if we could have family engagement sessions. My vision is to have one in each area. So 4 sessions for families, South area, North area, West, Central, where they could also learn about the change before it happens in August. And with that, the logistics and PD plan going forward, one of the reasons why, and I remember going to Lisa, I think it was in September, and saying to her, I would like to make a decision and present it to the board in January. And she said, okay, write a timeline. And one of the reasons why I wanted to do that, because I feel very strongly that teachers need to learn how to use a new program. There has to be ample time for professional learning for teachers. And that was something that I worked with Pearson on as well. So having this decision made tonight enables us to spend the spring not only with the instructional coaches and the math facilitators, but getting the materials delivered to the schools so that teachers have time to interact with those materials before school starts in August. So we'll have the district kickoff in February. In spring, the materials will be delivered. We will also have 1 full day of professional learning for instructional coaches and math facilitators, an additional full day of professional learning for the math facilitators. In the summer of 2016, we are not clear yet on which dates, but between June and July, we will be able to offer 1.5 full days of professional learning grade specific for every elementary school teacher. And then during the 2016-17 school year, we will offer 2 full days of professional learning in every elementary school building. So it'll be site-based. My vision would be to do 1 at the beginning of the year and one towards the end of the year, so we could think about how did it go, and thinking about for the next school year if we have to make any changes. This is a picture of the teachers, and if any of them are here, I know some of them came. Some of the math facilitators who have been on the long adoption ride, where are you? Stand up. And if any of the teachers came. And I wanted to put their picture in the presentation because it's actually, you know, their work and their feedback. It's not easy to take something that somebody hands you and teach with it, and then they came to meetings at ISC with me and to fill out the survey and the feedback. So their hard work that we're able to make this decision. So, any questions?
Any questions from the board?
So what's the textbook we're currently using, the program we're?
Okay, currently the teachers are using Investigations.
That's right, okay. I couldn't remember if it was Everyday Math or Investigation.
And Investigations is a Pearson product as well. So that kind of helps the change.
You know, my kids were in elementary school way back when we went to that program for the first time, and there was a huge learning curve for teachers, for parents, for kids. Kind of adapted pretty well, I thought, and it was really helpful for my own child because he's not a math guy, but I saw how his brain worked when he looked at math, because it gave you those different options. But the big critique of it was, we don't memorize anymore, kids lose that, they never learn it, blah, blah, blah. So is this a happy medium, or do they bring some of that back in, or
Yes.
no? Okay.
So Envisions does have a fluency component. We don't like to talk about math
Sure.
in terms of memorization.
Right.
We like to talk in terms of fluency. Are kids using numbers efficiently? Are they able to use numbers quickly? Can they solve problems in their head reasonably and know that they're right? Envisions does have a fluency component, which is what you're speaking to. And I don't think fluency was always in the standards. It's just that whole memorization piece looked differently, but it is there. And it is the balance that I was referring to earlier. You'll see that more.
How does the curriculum now that we're talking about going to flow into middle school? Do you see it that it's going to mesh pretty well with what middle school is doing, that it'll be fairly fluid?
I think, well, one of my professional passions is transition from elementary to middle, so it is something that I have worked on prior to coming to Parkway. And I think that the standards are what flow into middle school. So just our guarantee that our fifth graders are leaving middle school knowing the standards is what flows into middle school. The resource is just kind of like the vehicle that drives us to master the standards, but the Parkway's curriculum is what will flow into middle school and what flows really nicely in Parkway to middle school.
And then do you see much of a transition? Is there a need for a transition plan for the children that are currently using the Investigations program and then transitioning to the new Envision?
Okay, so I think that they're.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think that the kids will transition easily. First of all, it's the same publishing company, which was not intentional. So the website looks the same. The website feels the same for the students. The actual textbook, it's not going to be, the students right now have an activity book that they use as part of their math. In Envisions, they will have a student activity book. It actually even has the same name. So math is not going to look or sound or feel different. It's just the resource that the teachers plan from is different, if that.
Yeah, and I think it's important for us to remember, tonight we're not approving a curriculum. You approved our math curriculum months ago. This is the resource to help us implement our math curriculum. And the math curriculum, the units of study, the standards are tightly aligned to K-12. So it's not going to change the curriculum now. This is just the resource to help us better implement the curriculum.
Yeah, that's the flow. The standards and the Parkway Guaranteed curriculum aren't changing. It's just how are teachers going to teach it? You know, the resource that they can now pull lessons from.
A little bit, how is this resource going to help with differentiation for kids that are struggling as opposed to those that are beyond?
That's a $10,000 question. So my take on it is differentiation is good instructional practice, okay? There isn't one resource that can answer the needs of every student, but it's what, once it gets into the hands of the teacher, what he or she chooses to do with it. This resource does have resources that teachers can pull from to help English language learners, to help struggling students, and to enrich. Are they perfect? Absolutely not. But one thing that I can say with confidence is that for the general population, the teachers planning with one resource will be able to plan more efficiently, giving them time to plan for those situations that require more differentiation, if that makes sense. Yeah, I think having a resource that will meet the needs of most of the students enables teachers to plan and spend more time planning for students that they need to pull extra resources for.
Actually would take place in a class period?
Well, that question is not answered by the resource. It's answered by the instructional model that we're encouraging teachers in Parkway to use. We are encouraging them to use the math workshop, which enables them to spend as little time as possible, whole group, and most of the time teaching math in small group or with independent conferences, much like the model they use for ELA. So that really, the resource doesn't speak to that as much as the instructional model that we encourage teachers to use in elementary school.
Opportunity to go beyond independently outside the school day? If they're a bright, capable student that wants to go beyond the curriculum, is there an opportunity for that for them to work independently?
In this resource, they could go online and the teacher can assign them individual work. There would be math games for them to explore, but I actually believe that project-based learning would be the place for children who are really interested and want to spend more time learning about a concept. That's where that comes to play, and that again would be separate from this particular resource. Yeah, I think there's always that opportunity for students to go beyond, you know, and spend time at home.
Jennifer? Thank you very much, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Okay. May I have a motion and a second that the Board of Education approve the purchase of K through 5 and Vision 2.0 math materials and professional learning from Pearson in the amount of $707,000, 122.88 cents from the TLA budget funds 351 and $159,250 from TL budget line item 352 funds for a total of $866,372.88 from the elementary math textbook matrix for 2015-16.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed or abstentions? The motion carries 6-0.
Are y'all breathing now?
Thank you. Thanks to all of our math teachers and facilitators and those that work with those wonderful kids.
Mr. Jacob, I just thank you very much because that was kind of a process, and Jennifer's new this year, and she added a kind of another dimension to the work that was started, but it was quite a process, and we're really pleased to be able to move forward. As she explained, I mean, it's both the material, but it's really about the teacher's instructional skills, and that's the kind of the balance you're going to be working on with the company, and some of the work she said will be taking place this spring through implementation next fall.
Thank you again. Policy review, there is none tonight. 14.0 reports, Goal 4, professional learning communities. If I could call on Dr. Desi Kirchhofer, our Deputy Superintendent, and Amy Gerkenling-Coates, our Talent Development Coordinator.
Get the whole panel to come on up and have a seat. We'll do that now in transition. So in a little bit, you're going to hear from a few of the folks who are really digging into the work, leading and participating in the work. So come on now. 3 here. We get enough seats. Oh, we might need one more chair. Thank you. And we'll do some introductions here just briefly. So, President Jacob, Vice President Mogerman, board members, and Superintendent Marty, and Secretary Stover, thank you for this opportunity. Going back through some notes from years ago, in September of 2012, the first day before our first late start day, I sent a email out to our Parkway leaders, and it reads, Parkway leaders, as we kick off our first PLC late start day tomorrow, I want to thank you for your leadership and dedication in helping Parkway become a true professional learning community. Tomorrow is more than starting school 2 hours later. It signifies a collective commitment to allocate time and resources to help achieve mission. September 5th and the work that will occur throughout Parkway represents a culture shift that will forever impact Parkway's future and our students. Leadership is the dynamic that pulls together all the various elements of professional learning community and maintains and supports them. The PLC effort is one that fits our theme of for all by all. Thanks for being dynamic. And with that, the next day we started the official kickoff to a district-wide PLC. And our goal of implementing professional learning communities and the focus of that to develop and support strong professional communities. So with that, we believe that this was a high leverage strategy for the PLC and the collaboration to achieve mission to reach all. So ultimately, this is all about student growth. And so the culture shift, it really changed the way we do our work, and I think we'll hear from, as you have questions from our panel here shortly, that this is tough work, that it's difficult, that it's challenging, and but it's good. It's good work, and it's the right work. Just a quick refresher that I kind of want to remind, it's probably ingrained in you, but the 5 questions that we deal with when our teachers are working and staff in our PLCs that we want to know if our students understand. We want to know how they'll understand. We will respond when they do not, and then we'll respond if they already get it. And I think that was related to some of Sam's question about the math support. You know, how do we respond that way? And we will use best practices in doing so. The big ideas of the PLCs were the focus on learning, building a collaborative culture, and focus on results. So with that, it was a big shift in our mindset, our practice, our focus, where we put resources, time, how we looked at professional learning. That we needed to meet more often, use data, and focus on results. So we do have some updates tonight. We are one of those, I think that you'll hear maybe a little bit more about, but we wanted to keep you updated, is we're going virtual with some, especially our multi-school PLCs, right, Ellen? You're doing some leadership work around that. Trying to be more efficient and more often, so to use time wisely. So right now, the current practice has been that schools would come together in subject areas that maybe didn't have enough to collaborate within their school, but at this time they're getting creative and working to make that an online effort, and so opportunities that way. So other things, when we first started this, and this was written, the action steps were written in 2011. There were 14 action steps, and really, I think if Liz is still here, Liz was kind of led this work initially, and then it was supported by the people that you see at the tables, the leadership in the room, our building principals, but I'm pretty pleased to report that all 14 of those action steps were accomplished in the last over the last 4.5 years. So that begs the question that we will get to with this group, and as we assess where we are with Project Parkway, does this remain, does Goal 4 remain as a standalone goal, or really is it part of, embedded as our structures as a strategy for student achievement? So the other thing we said we would do is we would measure with a survey to look at whether our teachers felt that the PLCs and the collaborative teams had a positive impact on their instruction. And so 80% of our respondents to this survey either agree or strongly agree that it has had a positive impact on their instruction. The other question that we asked in the survey was about student learning, because that's really the bottom line. So we had 77% agree or strongly agree that it did have a positive impact on our student learning. And Amy, how many respondents do we have at that? Over 600. Yeah, Okay, I was going to take a guess at, but it was over 650 response. So we had a pretty strong response rate too. So we're pretty pleased with those results. So with that, I'm going to turn it over, and Amy's going to do some introductions, and then we're going to turn it back over to you for some questions that you might have, our distinguished panel. So thank you, Amy.
So this is kind of double exciting for me because after our first year of implementation of PLCs, I was serving as instructional coach at Riverbend, and I received an email from Mr. Kirchhoffer then, inviting me to sit on a panel in front of the school board and talk about the reflections I had over the first year of PLCs. So now to come back a couple years later and be introducing the panel is kind of fun. So with that, I would like to start at this end with Ms. Ellen Schmidt. She is at Central Middle. We have Erica Rogers, who I think you sat on the panel as well that time. So Erica Rogers, instructional coach. Ms. Sarah Maxfield from Craig Elementary. Over here we have Dr. Daryl Diggs, assistant principal at South High. Katie Klein, who's recently married, and we had a little bit of trouble locating the new name, but we got it all solved. We have Allison Love, who I was lucky enough to serve with as a coach, who has participated in PLCs from multiple lenses as a teacher, as a coach, and now serving as an administrator. So she has a great view. And then finally, Carrie Luttrell, who is our principal at Shenandoah Valley. So the first question, I'd just like to turn to the panel and ask, how have PLCs impacted the work in your schools? And anyone feels free to start. There should be a mic on both tables.
I would say at Shenandoah Valley, we have been implementing PLCs for 5 years. We started a bit before Parkway did. It was when I entered into the district, and I asked the staff if they were willing to try something a little early and get their feet wet, and unanimously they said yes. And I will tell you that first and foremost, our student achievement has increased in both English language arts and math, and that is with all students. So we're very, very proud to see that the data, that our work has translated into student learning as evidenced by our data. But I would say most importantly, there has been an impact in an increased teacher voice and teacher leadership throughout our entire school community.
I would say one of the ways that PLCs have impacted the work that we've done as a district is that it's called Educators to Action. If you notice the 5 PLC questions that were listed, that Dr. Kirchhoffer listed up there, the words respond, it's all about what we're going to do to help support students. It's increased collaboration among professionals in the building. It's allowed teachers to be able to have those transparent conversations of, you know, my students didn't quite get the material that I taught within this unit. What have you done that has proven to be effective? How are your test scores so much stronger, and allowing for that dialogue to happen between colleagues? I think it's opened the doors of trust, courageous conversations, us being able to be a little bit more vulnerable and step out of our comfort zone and rely on our colleagues that we work with. In addition to that, I think that it's helped. We know as a district we always want to include and reference our mission of including all students, and PLCs have allowed us to know that if one student is not achieving, then we haven't met the needs. And so the collaboration between your colleagues has allowed us to be able to focus on all kids, not those that just get it from the mainstream lesson, but also touching on differentiation, which you asked earlier with the math presentation. And it's allowed us to know how to hit all levels of students within our classrooms.
I've got sound now. So thank you. Very excited about the fact that we're going to be thinking innovatively also about our PLCs. And we, as a group of new teachers, middle school business ed teachers, were clamoring to get together more often in our first few years of teaching and work on our curriculum as quickly as possible, start looking at the data that we were gathering, just make decisions as quickly as possible. And we were doing
definitely say when I think about the impact of PLCs, I think collaboration. As an elementary school teacher, I obviously team plan with my teammates, but the amount of learning that I've been able to do and take ownership of with my teammates and pass along to my students truly has been amazing. Even the students, they feel that when they walk into our 5th grade pod, it's not just me as their 5th grade teacher, it's also my teammates. We all collect and we all own them all. And it doesn't matter who you're actually assigned to back in August on that first day of school. You're gonna come in and you're gonna be learning, and no matter what. And we're gonna take care of you. And so when I really think about PLCs, I think collaboration. I think of the teamwork that happens. And personally, I feel the leadership that I've actually been given. I've been 5th grade's PLC leader since the start. And just having that position has sparked even greater drive to go further in my career and pursue future endeavors. So I really, it's been great.
In the high school setting, I think that PLCs were some people an uncomfortable shift in the expectations. Just by the nature of the PLC process, it disallows being the lone guardian of your curriculum and the one person who teaches that course the way that you want it because that's the way that you enjoy it. And with the systematic, repeated collaboration that is required by a functioning PLC, you can't isolate yourself. And that's a good thing. And we all call that collaboration. A lot of high school teachers call that uncomfortable. And I think that while it may have been a difficult shift, I think it's a really important shift in the high school climate. The other noticeable impact has been even teachers who really enjoy collaborating with their colleagues to really, truly adhere to the PLC process. The conversation has to focus on student learning, and it has to be outcome driven. And so instead of spending time waxing philosophical and talking about your favorite things to teach and how you like to teach them, the focus shifts on students and student growth and really what you can see and can measure. And although the word data isn't necessarily one of teachers' favorite terms to hear, you have to have that in order to make informed decisions. And so from the high school perspective, those are some really noticeable shifts I've seen, and it's taken us a while to really embrace those, but I think that those were necessary changes that needed to happen.
I think you're spot on. Well, from the conversations that I've been a part of, what I've noticed most is that uncomfortableness in the conversations, because we all like to teach what we like to teach, and we all think individually that is very important. But when I think about the impact of this work in my building, we really hone in on and dig deep on what's important and what we think all students should know, and will move them forward when they leave our building. And then after we have discovered that and really chewed on that aspect of teaching, how are we going to do that? I think that's the piece that I really, really enjoy, because then next comes the data that a lot of us struggle with, but the data doesn't lie, as many people say. It helps us refine how we teach, what we teach, and how we can help the next group of students that we have. I think that the impact has been beneficial. I'm an assistant principal of a multiple school PLC, so when I sit down with band, they really hone in on good music, intonation, rhythm. They don't focus on the marching because it's really all about growth and the music and the notes. When I bounce into the art department, they really want to hone in on history, they want to focus on strategy, and they also want to develop more skills when it comes to creating their own pieces. So it's good stuff. It's very uncomfortable, but I have seen returns on my end of the district.
I teach third grade, right? And I can say that it's certainly been a positive impact on our school as well.
I personally treasure the time that I have with my team in our SDLTs. I'm thankful for the personalities of my team. We do work very well together, but I've definitely seen how we could become more and more student-centered, and I think that this process certainly drives us in that direction. I think that trust definitely goes a long way on a team. There have been times where we have needed to be a little bit humble and ask. I know that there's been times when I've looked at my data and I've had to go to a teammate and say, what are you doing? You know, what are you doing that I'm not doing? Because I need to do that, you know, and I love that we've been able to share ideas with one another. You're right, it's not a time to be isolated, but a time to share ideas and help problem solve with one another. And I've seen it really help us in our practices, in the classroom, and then also to focus on students and how to get them to grow.
Thank you all. So when we crafted the survey, we knew we wanted both quantitative and qualitative data. So the quantitative data was really easy to summarize, nice pie charts. Qualitative data, 650 plus respondents, what are we going to do with all the comments? So we finally settled on what if we made a Wordle, which makes the larger the word, the more times it's repeated. So if you take a look, we asked, what are the benefits of professional learning communities? And obviously, the biggest one came back was that time, finally having enough time to meet and talk about students. So the flip question was, what are the challenges? It is amazing how similar these two slides look to each other. So I'd like to once again turn it back to our panel. Don't feel like you all have to answer, but taking a look at this, can you help us understand a little bit why does the benefit and challenge side look so similar to one another?
Okay. I think the difficulty is not necessarily that we're talking about professional learning communities or the structure of them or the process of school reform or organizational change. It's that anytime we begin to evolve as educators, because we are constantly learning and growing, change occurs. And when there's change, there's new learning, and that new learning takes time. And so time is always our nemesis. Put any topic on the table, and I still think those might be the results. So I think that the art of this as an administrator is to create time. How do I go about creating that time to afford all of us in the school? Because this just isn't teachers. As a principal, I attend every CLT that we have in our school. I think that that leadership is extremely important as a support to the conversation. It's always teacher-led and teacher voices, but oftentimes resources have to be allocated or schedules need to be amended. And that's where some of that information that you're seeing on the screen comes into play. So I think it's about being very creative to afford the time to learn, and the time, in my opinion, should be job embedded. It's not before school, it's not after school, because those time slots are already filled. But how do you make it of value and importance in the moment of the teaching and learning process?
Just to kind of feed off of what you were saying, the time is, yes, I don't want to give up my Saturday. So that's, you know, the challenge. But at the same time, am I fist pumping at what we got done and what that's going to mean for the students? And so, you know, that is kind of that yin and yang of, is it the challenge, is it the benefit? It's both. And so I can see where those fall into both categories. Really, it's just, it's tough because there is never enough time, and there's not enough time built into that workday, and so that is going to be a challenge for us to figure out.
One of the components I think about with the time as a positive a benefit and also as a challenge. I think we're thankful that the district allowed us to have the structure of the late start days, because it gives you that 2 continuous hours of really being able to hone in on something that sometimes you don't have. You know how you start a project, it takes you a moment to get in the groove, and so having the continuous 2 hours allows you to commonly assess or score assessments, or having the opportunity of doing some backwards planning with your team, or having the option of creating assessments in order to gauge what students have learned and being able to check that formatively over the course of the unit. On the other side, I think with the time, anytime that you're truly responding to the needs of students and you're really changing your instruction and you're making tweaks along the way, you always need more time, because it can't always be predicted. The best planned lesson, you think it's going to go one way, but the students respond in a different way. And you have to be able to effectively respond to their needs in order to make sure that we're showing growth and making progress.
My PLC is the English 3, so junior level English. And we are reaching this paradox where the farther we're getting into legitimate work in our team, we realize we need to be meeting more often to really make this happen than the required amount. And so if we're going to be meeting more often, then that means we're giving up more of our planning periods for PLC time. And while that's great and that's really productive work, that means whatever we were going to do during our planning period then comes home with us. And so it impacts outside of school time. And so it becomes this, the better we get and the better work we do, the more time we need. And the more time we spend together, the more time we need. And so it becomes this, we're like on our own hamster wheel. But at the same time, if we didn't have that time already set aside in our schedule, we wouldn't be having these really crucial conversations for our kids, and we wouldn't be doing this work at all, because I think that for us at least, we needed that schedule built in, that job embedded time in order to dedicate to really focused, intentional collaboration.
Yeah, what I'm thinking as I'm hearing you guys talk, I'm thinking, when you know better, you do better, or you want to do better. So it's kind of when we sit down and we meet, and you do get excited, you do want to fist bump your teammates, like, yeah, we really rocked that, and we're really excited and ready to move forward. Then you're there and you see the impact on the students. Then you come back to each other and you're like, okay, now we have to do that for math. We need to do that for science. I need to do that for, especially at the elementary level, I teach all 5 subjects. So, then we're sitting here thinking, we got to do it all. Let's go for it, So just that, I can see exactly why that would be on both sides.
These are pretty amazing teachers, and we have hundreds of them across our entire district. PLCs and having that district allocated time has really helped us to see both what our strengths are and what our challenges remain. So with that, I'm going to ask Desi would take a look.
So one of the things that I mentioned earlier is that we had completed the action steps that were in our strategic plan, so the implementation process. And we know there's certainly challenges out there, and implementation looks different, and people are at different stages of their work in their collaborative teams. But one thing I would have, that we're wrestling with, so I'll ask the panel, is whether or not, we thought when we originally worked through the strategic plan and Project Parkway, we thought this was important enough to make it a goal. That's the way we're going to achieve professional learning communities as a system and actually change culture. And so we're at a critical point here to look at it. Is it part of our embedded work? Is it part of what we do as educators? Is this is what happens at our school, that it's part of the culture now? So that's the question. Does it need to maintain, would you see it as a standalone goal or a strategy for student achievement? So if you would comment one way or another. And these haven't been, we don't know what they're going to say, so.
I'll answer to both. I do believe believe it is a part of our culture. I think in our culture as teachers and educators, we want to get it right. We want to try again. We want to go back to the drawing board, think outside the box to achieve that goal of learning, deep and impactful learning. So I do believe it's part of our culture. But I also agree that it should remain a standalone goal because our district is vast. We have many communities, and each one has their own personality. And with that, sometimes things can be overshadowed because of what we hold near and dear to our areas of the district. And with that, if we can continue to keep it a focus and an impactful drive and, once again, standalone goal, it will always be on the forefront of everything that we're trying to do, because it goes back to how kids learn and what we value that they should take with them to the next level, to college or to the workforce.
Portion being that one of our goals should be to continue to support PLCs as a part of our culture. And support comes in a variety of ways. We're running into like logistical problems in can we get more flexibility in our schedule so we can have shared plan time and we can switch kids around among our English 3 teachers and even differentiate within our 11th grade population. And what does that look like for an assistant principal who's making the master schedule and all of those other bits and pieces. And not just logistical support, I'm also thinking of like professional development support. Every PLC, every team has its own personality and has its own focus. And there are still a lot of PLCs, CLTs, whatever you want to call them, that are struggling because their leader may not really know how to lead a PLC effectively, or the people that are participating in that PLC still don't really understand what they're doing or why we're doing it. And so I think providing that development to contextualize it and to really build the teacher leadership base is part of what should be in the goal of supporting PLCs as a systemic part of our culture.
I would also agree that it should remain a standalone goal just because we are so big. And especially, at the elementary level, in a single elementary school, you have 6 different CLTs for the 6 different grade levels, and then you include the multi-school PLCs, the art, music, PE. We're too big in my mind.
I'd like to see it stay as a standalone goal, not that I don't want to see it embedded in the culture of Parkway, just because I feel like I think it's working right now as far as just having that structure and that focus. And for me and my group, we really need that to stay as a standalone goal for a little while longer and not be separated, or it could be combined with the culture. And that's just what would work for our group or for a lot of the MSPLCs as far as I can see it.
I'll just say something quickly. I was going to say that I do think that it is part of the culture of the Parkway School District PLCs. I think that if you ask anybody, they're talking about that we're collaborating, we're doing what's best for kids, we're responding to their needs. I think a benefit with keeping it as a standalone goal, speaking to the fact that we are a large district, we're always getting new members of our school communities coming in, and the opportunity to be able to not only train those that come in, but to sustain it. Because sometimes you get a little comfortable and you feel like, well, I know this. And so you don't continue to improve. And I think one of the benefits to making it a standalone goal, it's visible. We all know what we're trying to reach as educators within the district. We know what is expected of us as employees. And it just helps us to make sure that we're focused.
I would concur with Allison and the others on the panel. The research tells us it takes 5 to 7 years in order to change or to establish a culture. And so as we have integrated or introduced and then integrated CLTs into our culture, the way that we do business, we're only at the end of our 4th year. So some of it is a little bit fragile as we're still learning and growing in the process. And as someone else said, it's like the more we know, the more we understand what else we need to do. And so I'm not sure I'm quite there yet. And to be able to identify this work as a standalone goal would also ensure the commitment that Parkway has towards this type of school reform effort.
Very good. All right, thank you. I really appreciate those comments. It was really good. And I think that, you know, that is substantiated by the DeFores, kind of the originators of the process. This is a process, that it's an ongoing process, so a continuation. So at this point, we have it open for the board to ask our panel any questions that they would like to, although we've been very informative tonight, so thank you very much. Really, I mean, so.
Are there board members that have questions for any of these panel members?
Well, I just want to, this isn't really a question, but I'm just blown away because we are in our 4th year of doing this, and I remember the first year, and there were some people that were very into it already, but some were hesitant and not ready to bare their souls and all that, and I'm just so proud of the whole district grabbing onto this and moving forward as quickly. I'm just amazed. I just truly am, and I know it's because of all of your hard work. And as a board, we really appreciate what you do, so.
To that, I'm also very proud of the way that you guys have found a flexible way to make it work for you. I hear that, you know, some of you, you're in your jammies and meeting on Saturdays, but it works for you, and you get to see the satisfaction of, you know, this is really working for the kids. And just being flexible enough to make it work, I'm very proud of you guys. Thank you.
I like knowing that you're actually seeing results through data. So for us to be able to stand behind the effort with the data as proof that this is working, I think is monumental. So thank you for that. I will bring out one particular question though, because I'm always hit with this question. The late start day on Wednesday mornings. Do you see that as a benefit on being as a late start date as opposed to doing an early dismissal on another day of the week? And this is coming from parents in the community who sometimes feel inconvenienced by a late start day, and what your thoughts are surrounding the time of day and the day of the week that this is taking place.
Good question.
I'm going to speak from an elementary perspective, and I will say it is my opinion, but I think that it is shared by some of my elementary principal colleagues as we have discussed that. And to be perfectly honest with you, at the elementary level, we would much prefer an early release rather than a late start for a variety of reasons. But I would imagine that many of the comments you may hear are parents from elementary students wishing for an early release rather than a late start. At least in my community, that question still gets brought up. And so we do our best to explain that we need to take in considerations of every child in the whole district. And often, high school can tend to drive some of those decisions. The needs are different. And so it has come up from parents to me, can we have a different type of system for secondary schools as opposed to elementary schools? That presents different challenges, but I think from teacher standpoint at the elementary level and parents at the elementary level, early release would be preferable to late start.
Secondary colleagues address the difference.
I think both have benefits and challenges, whether it's an early release or late start. The benefit to an early release, a benefit to a late start is that that's what we're doing. We have a job, we're going straight to do this, to meet for this reason, and there's nothing else going on outside of that. Now, if we were to switch that to an early release, we would run into a challenge of supervision because a lot of our teachers are also coaches, or they're sponsors of activities. And so for students to go home and come back may be difficult. And then for our teachers to supervise them, but still focus on the PLC process and esteem is going to be a challenge as well. But at the same time, I think travel is difficult. So I think travel in the afternoon would be easier for our teachers if there are multiple school PLC to get back and forth versus the morning where everybody is moving, whether you're a teacher or not. So I think there's challenges and benefits to both, but I think for us, the morning works a lot better because of the activities in the afternoon.
Of the week. Is that Wednesdays, is that the best day?
I wouldn't know any different. I think Wednesdays work perfect. Mondays would be a huge challenge. and Fridays, our minds are already on the weekend. So I think if we move it to the middle, we don't have to worry about the bookends. So,
I know your mother.
She is a great woman.
I would think from a practical standpoint, wouldn't it be more difficult for an early release to maximize what the meeting for the PLC time would do? I mean, it's one thing when you're starting the day and you can roll right into it and then take what you've been talking about to the classroom, as opposed to getting the kids out and getting involved and other things, and then trying to get together to meet for the end of the day. I would just think that would be less efficient meeting time.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I'd say that with the morning, we are fresh, we are focused. The challenges of the day are not on our shoulders really yet. And so I would agree. I think that we're very focused on the work at hand, and there's not really anything else on our mind at that time. I would imagine that if we did move it into the afternoon, it might be a time where we would be thinking, a time where we would really have to try to stick to our norms of not discussing anything that happened in the day, challenges, problem solving, things that happened in the day with the students, and maybe, feeling worn from the day as well, and maybe having a little bit less effort or energy to put forth to truly the work at hand.
That one day a month that those kids, the high school kids, can sleep in, I think we would hear from them. I think it's kind of sacrosanct.
One piece of data that was really interesting is Kevin Beckner pulled the attendance data for the school year, and we were looking at, the hills and valleys of where our highest attendance days and our most absentee days. We actually have the highest attendance rates on our late start days. And I think a lot of that is parents have to make a plan. And so it was very interesting to see that those days we have 98+% attendance.
I've been hit up with parents that have kids in elementary school that drives them crazy, but that's whereas a high school student would appreciate being able to sleep in. For parents that have to plan around it, it's a challenge, but by the same token, that's what you got to do. I mean, I don't. If it works better, it works better, and that's, I guess, the real question. To me, that's the real test. I mean, I appreciate it, but it's one particular parent has always something going on, so it's okay.
Small sample.
Yeah, small sample.
Is it necessary that every school, so the elementary, the middle, and the high school all have the same day off? So if you did elementary had a different day than high school as a early dismissal or a late start, or would that get too? Because I know some school districts, they have a different day. They have different blocks. They have the A group, the B group, the C group. They're all off at different days at different, so. No, I know. I get it.
And I really wish we could get back to talking about PLCs instead of about the logistics of the day, because I think the decision was made and we're not revisiting the decision. So we have this panel here, and I think it's a great opportunity to ask them questions about their work rather than the time that they meet.
Any other questions with regards to the logistics? There's going to be complications one way or another. I know we live in a district that had switched from year to year, and that was a nightmare as well. So sometimes, some years they had the early release, and then some people didn't like that because they had adjusted their schedule, and they changed it to the late start, and then they heard from the one. So they were kind of in a, and according to my wife, both were kind of a pain, to be honest, when we had kids when they were younger. So
Pie chart. I couldn't read the number of the little green piece of pie. What's the percent of people that they strongly disagree that it has a positive impact?
Oh, I should look at
I guess it must be 33%, no? No.
No, it's like 3%, is that what?
3%? 5%, thank you.
Somebody with good eyes back.
So, wow.
Oh, you're right, Gary.
We're probably never going to get 100%. I'm sure some of you work with that 5%. How can we turn their attitude, how can we turn them around? Is it?
I think they have to see benefit. I think there has to be benefit that's derived from each individual, and there has to be a true sense of shared values and shared vision. And I think that for some people, it's going into some place and seeing if that culture fits for them. And it might fit and it might not. And what we do, I think, as leaders, and that's teacher leaders and administrative leaders, is collectively we model a collaborative atmosphere. We are sharing ideas. We are supporting each other to help bring those people along and provide the opportunity for them to ask questions and to stretch a little bit. Some people are more comfortable stretching and trying things than others. It might take a little bit of time to ensure that there is trust and that there is security in trying something and knowing that it may not be successful the first time and there will not be any consequences as a result of that.
I also think that they have to see the benefit of the work that they're doing. You put a lot of hard work in, and sometimes when you don't get the results, it can be discouraging. In addition to that, I think educators, oftentimes whenever we have a new movement of something that is either new to the district or new to the education scene, you have those that are wondering, well, how long do I have to hold out for? And so if they know that it's something that we truly believe in, that's here to stay, it's a way of how we do business, I think that's a little bit more comforting than it feeling as if it's a fad.
Anything about PLCs and their weekly communications to parents? Seems that that would be a great place to show excitement, enthusiasm, collaboration, teamwork, and also how it impacts their students as well. And I think that's one way to really keep it in front of parents by the team, more so than do the principal's newsletters or the district communications. To me, I think that's a great way for parents to know that it's so valuable, and we really appreciate your cooperation with us. We know it's kind of a hardship, or it may be a problem for you in scheduling, but we want you to know the impact that it does have on student achievement and our students' success. So anyway, just a thought.
I think parents do see it, especially in my building, just because students will come up and say this is Mrs. Klein, or Kennefic, whichever, this is Mrs. Klein, my other teacher. They'll say those things. They'll come back and, even the parents looking at me, are like, oh, so you are it was like, oh yeah, I see them in science, I see them in Ag Lab, I see them, and so I think they do feel it that way too, just because
But it also shows teamwork, and that we do work together, and we enjoy working together. We're all here for the kids.
Rick DeFore, and Rick DeFore was a principal and superintendent at Eisenhower High School north of Chicago, And he tells stories about, you know, you have to stick with this. And I had a chance to visit there a number of years ago with a team, and you talk about a culture. We were there early in the morning. It happened to be on a day where the kids are coming late, but the kids are coming. They're high school kids. And I asked one young man, I said, what's happening today? And he says, well, he said, our teachers are in these meetings, and it's so important because they have to keep up with us. And so you talk about a culture, you know, and Rick and Becky DeFore often talk about the sadness that they see that systems get really excited about PLCs and then they go light. You know, they start abandoning those questions. They start doing other things. They hear complaints from the community and they back off, and pretty soon the excitement or the good work that was really initiated. And so I'm proud of the fact that we're hanging in there. As Desi said earlier, this is tough work, and it would be easy to abandon or it'd be easy to say, oh yeah, we're you know, we get a little pressure. But our teachers need this. I mean, they're learners. They need to grow. They need to be collaborators, as Carrie was saying, and you got to create that culture. And so I think we need to hang in there. And eventually, I think more and more, both by our own culture, but by people talking about it, people understand how valuable it is. And it'll be hard. People won't want to give it up. They'll say, this is really what is making a difference. So it takes a while, though. And we're 4 years. It might take 4, 5, 6 more years to really ingrain it. But you got to hang in there with these changes.
You are a representative of all the teachers. They're doing extremely well, I would say. And I think one of the important components of the leadership within the school is to continually reinforce and let teachers know they're doing a great job and we appreciate what you're doing. It's making a difference, and they need that as well on a regular basis.
One of the things we teach our employees in the business world is always do a professional job. If you've got a lot of time, you can do a bang-up job and really do a super professional job. But whatever the time is, you do a professional job. If you got 4 minutes, do what you can in 4 minutes. If you got 40 or 4 days or 4 weeks, and I'm glad I can look at you and hear what you're saying and doing and feel like we have a representative of what our teachers and what our students are feeling as real professionals, taking advantage of the time that they have. And some are doing it better than others, but all are learning. And like Sam said, the payoff is that our kids are benefiting from it. So thank you for being dedicated to it, and we support you 100%.
All right, thank you. I want to give a special thanks, because I think I estimated the time a little bit earlier that these would folks be presenting. So thanks for sticking with us. Thanks, Rounds. We give those folks a round of applause. So wonderful family. So, and thank you all. We appreciate your help and support. It is tough work, but it's good work, and we have wonderful people out there doing the work. So thank you.
Uh, 17.0, next scheduled closed session. The next anticipated closed session will be held on Wednesday, February 17th, 2016 at 6 p.m. here at Central Middle School. Details of the closed session will be posted within 24 hours of the anticipated meeting. May I have a motion and a second to adjourn the regular meeting?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. We stand adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.